The October afternoon was warm, sunlight spilling over the busy streets of Chicago's southwest side. Around 3 p.m., ordinary traffic filled the air with its rhythm, until a sudden burst of gunfire shattered the calm. In seconds, panic spread. People ducked for cover, car horns blared, and chaos rippled down the block. When the smoke cleared, one of the victims was identified as Devonshaw Collier, better known to fans as THF Bayzoo. He was more than a rapper to many who followed the city's drill movement. To some, he represented survival, an artist who had faced the system, endured charges that could have ended his life, and returned home to rebuild. To others, he was another name caught between fame and danger in a city where the two often coexist. If stories like this fascinate you, hit subscribe, because this one only gets darker. Reports confirmed that Bayzoo was one of 3 people struck in the daylight shooting. Witnesses described it as quick and deliberate, unfolding near a busy intersection where families and workers were going about their day. Police arrived within minutes, cordoning off the area as yellow tape fluttered in the autumn breeze. Bayzoo was rushed to a nearby hospital in critical condition. Despite the efforts to save him, he was pronounced dead early the next morning. News spread fast across social media. Fans posted tribute clips of his songs, while Chicago's rap community reacted with disbelief. For those who had followed his journey, this wasn't just a headline, it was another reminder of how fragile life can be for artists tied to the streets that raised them. Before his death, THF Bayzoo's story had already drawn attention beyond music. In 2009, at just 20 years old, Collier was charged in connection with a gang-related murder. The case followed him for years, marked by delays and scrutiny. After nearly 8 years, a jury acquitted him in 2017. He walked free, a rare outcome in cases like his. In interviews and lyrics afterward, he hinted at wanting to move past that chapter, but Chicago's reality has never been kind to those trying to escape their past. Following his acquittal, Collier faced more legal trouble. Court records show later arrests tied to firearm charges, one of which was dropped and another ending in a not guilty verdict. Each time, he seemed to reappear in music with a sharper tone, his lyrics raw, unfiltered, and often reflective of a man who understood both freedom and fear. By 2025, he was back recording and maintaining ties with Only the Family, OTF, the collective founded by fellow Chicago rapper Lil Durk. Bayzoo's voice stood out, deep, steady, and carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too much. His songs weren't meant to glorify violence, they told of survival in neighborhoods where every decision had a consequence. But that October day marked the end of his chapter. Authorities have yet to confirm a motive or make arrests connected to his killing. Police statements only described the shooting as under investigation, and details remain limited. What is known is that Bayzoo's death added to the long list of Chicago musicians lost to gun violence, a pattern that has haunted the city's drill scene for more than a decade. As the news circulated, tributes poured in from across the rap world. Some called him a legend in the making. Others simply said he didn't deserve to go out like that. For those who knew the realities of the South Side, his story felt painfully familiar, a cycle of promise, pressure, and tragedy repeating itself. And while the investigation continues, one question still lingers on the streets where he came up: was it fate, or was it a setup that no one saw coming? The morning after the shooting, the city woke up to headlines that hit like a cold wave: Chicago rapper THF Bayzoo fatally shot in broad daylight. For many in the community, it wasn't just another tragic story, it was personal. Fans, friends, and even rivals paused. The name carried weight, and now it was gone. In the neighborhoods where Bayzoo had grown up, the silence was thick. You could feel the unease moving through the streets, through the same corners and blocks that shaped his music. Police cars idled at intersections, local reporters interviewed witnesses who didn't want to speak on camera. Everyone had seen something, but no one was ready to say anything. The Chicago Police Department confirmed the shooting happened just after 3 p.m. on the southwest side. 3 people were hit, one died at the hospital hours later. They called it a targeted attack, but stopped short of naming suspects. No arrests were made. No official motive. Just a cloud of unanswered questions hanging over the South Side. For years, Bayzoo's life had mirrored that tension between art and danger. The drill scene that made him famous was also what kept him tied to the streets that never forgave. He had survived accusations, courtrooms, and the constant threat of violence. But his name was also linked to the city's deep web of affiliations, alliances, and feuds that stretched back decades. Online, speculation exploded. Some blamed gang retaliation. Others pointed to jealousy or internal disputes within the music world. Fans debated in comment sections, desperate to understand how someone who had already escaped so much could still meet an end like this. But beyond the noise, investigators faced the same problem Chicago detectives have faced for years: too many guns, too many witnesses afraid to speak. At OTF's studio on the north side, friends and fellow artists gathered quietly. The mood was heavy. Those closest to him remembered Bayzoo as protective, loyal, and focused in recent months. He'd been spending more time in the studio, working on what would have been his next full project. His verses were sharper, more reflective, like someone aware of time running short, even if he couldn't explain why. Meanwhile, detectives combed through surveillance footage from nearby cameras. They reviewed phone records, spoke with family members, and retraced his last known movements. But the investigation moved slowly. Chicago's homicide clearance rate was already struggling, and daylight shootings like this, where witnesses feared retaliation, rarely produced fast results. As the days passed, fans held vigils across the city. Murals appeared in neighborhoods he once called home, spray-painted portraits of his face next to messages that read, "Long live Bayzoo." In one clip that circulated online, a group of local kids played his music through a speaker at sunset. The lyrics, once seen as defiant, now sounded hauntingly prophetic. Within the city's rap community, his death reignited old debates. Was drill music a reflection of the violence, or part of what fueled it? Artists spoke out about wanting to escape the cycle, about building safer spaces for young musicians. But many admitted the same truth: fame in Chicago's underground scene doesn't erase the past, it often magnifies it. Police continued their search for leads, promising justice. But as of the latest reports, no suspect had been publicly identified. And so, the investigation joined the long list of unsolved cases that haunt the city's music culture. Behind the headlines, one truth stood out: Devonshaw Collier's story wasn't just about crime or music. It was about a generation trying to climb out of a system that kept pulling them back down. And as those closest to him tried to move forward, the silence he left behind began to echo louder than any verse he ever recorded. Days turned into weeks, and still, no arrests were made. The case that had once dominated local headlines was slowly being overtaken by newer stories of violence, newer faces lost to the same cycle. But for those who knew Devonshaw Collier, THF Bayzoo, the silence cut deeper than any breaking news. Chicago's drill scene kept moving, but his absence lingered. In studios across the city, rappers paused mid-session, replaying his verses. His words, gritty, unfiltered, and painfully real, now felt like echoes of warning. For years, Bayzoo had been walking that tightrope between redemption and revenge, fame and fatality. He'd survived the courtroom battles, the street rumors, the public scrutiny. But the streets have a memory, and memories here often come back with gunfire. At his memorial, friends spoke of a man more complex than the headlines allowed. They remembered the artist who helped younger rappers find their voice, who stayed loyal when others left, who dreamed of moving his family out of the South Side. The same community that once feared him now mourned him, proof that even in the hardest neighborhoods, respect doesn't disappear with death. The police investigation continued quietly. Detectives revisited camera footage and traced calls, but nothing concrete was released to the public. Community activists urged cooperation, asking witnesses to come forward. Yet fear of retaliation kept many silent. It was the same story Chicago knew too well: justice delayed, truth buried under fear. Meanwhile, online tributes turned into digital memorials. Hashtags like #LongLiveBayzoo trended, his songs racked up millions of streams, and interview clips resurfaced where he spoke about making it out. Fans dissected every lyric, searching for clues or hidden reflections of his final days. But the truth, like so many things in Chicago, remained locked behind walls of loyalty and loss. His death once again forced the city to confront a larger question: how many more artists, fathers, and sons would die before the cycle breaks? Bayzoo's story wasn't just about one man, it was about a generation raised in neighborhoods where opportunity was scarce, but hope was stubborn. Where every achievement came with a shadow. Local journalists began highlighting his acquittal from the 2009 murder charge, reminding readers that he'd already fought one impossible battle. They described his legal victories not as luck, but as a testament to survival in a system that rarely gives second chances. For some, his death symbolized the tragedy of Chicago's dual reality: immense talent, endless potential, but a constant pullback into danger. By the end of that October, the candles from his vigil had burned out, but the questions had not. Who killed him? Why? Would justice ever come? The answers remain uncertain. What is certain is the mark he left, in his music, in his community, and in the conversations his loss reignited about safety, justice, and the weight of choices. For those who listened closely to his lyrics, Bayzoo had already told his story long before the bullets flew. He'd warned about the paranoia, the betrayal, and the cost of trying to escape a past written in the language of survival. Now, his voice lives on in the beats that still echo through the same streets he once walked. In the end, Devonshaw Collier's story isn't one of defeat. It's a story about a man who fought for a different ending, and whose legacy reminds us that even in tragedy, there's a call for change. If you think this story was intense, the next one will leave you speechless. Subscribe for more true crime stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.